everyone. Welcome to Switchblade Sisters Social Club, the true crime podcast where two friends exploit their worst fears for your entertainment.
You're welcome.
I'm Dee, a writer and podcaster.
And I'm Isla from Criminally Good Books, a true crime and crime fiction bookshop in York.
Follow us on all the socials.
Except for X, obviously.
Or have a look at our website, switchbladesisterssocialclub.com.
Check them out for all our latest episodes, events, deals, and other weird stuff.
Listeners' discretion advised. Well, I am excited because we have got a code for CrimeCon.
Absolutely.
Birmingham. Oh, stop saying that. They'll make me leave, won't they? It is CGB10.
Yep. So if you want to join us at CrimeCon and get 10% off.
Yeah, I can't remember how much the tickets are. The Birmingham one is significantly cheaper than the 2-day London one. So if you've not been, if you're not sure whether it's your thing, it is your thing because you're listening to us. And the smaller ones that they do around the country are 1 day, slightly less talks. Like the London one is 2 days with like 5 different lecture halls running talks at the same time. It's almost like overwhelming how many different things there are that you can go and listen to and people you can talk to. The ones around the country are much smaller, which I like more because you can talk to more people.
Yeah, they're
You
so
don't
nice.
get FOMO, like there's 1 stream or 2 stream of talks. Yeah. So it's definitely a very good like intro into CrimeCon if you've not been before. It's definitely much easier to talk to people, interact with people that you go and listen to that have stalls and so forth. And I know already from those that have signed up and from having a look at who's coming on the schedule that it's going to be amazing. And that's without even talking about how you and I are going to be there.
We're going to be there.
We're going to be there in our podcast capacity,
Yeah.
as well as your Criminally Good Books capacity.
I know.
So make sure you do come along and say hi to us.
Absolutely. And we will be selling all of the books. Criminally Good Books will be doing all the books from the speakers and then other really cool things we're going to bring along. So it'll be fun.
Yeah, we're going to be selling some merch from both the bookshop and the podcast, and you're the official bookseller, so you will be able to buy books from the different speakers, have them signed there, as well as other
the signing.
classics.
Yes, exactly. Get them signed. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and Birmingham is so cool. Make a weekend of it. Like I've been exploring more of it. I went to Moseley the other day. I went to Digbeth the other day. So I'm exploring Birmingham more and more and just loving it. Loving it.
Dickmouth.
So nice, so friendly.
Dickmouth.
Digbeth.
Oh, right. I was
I'm
like,
not
that is a
saying
really unfortunate name.
I did see recently on the map there was a place called Cock Lake.
Cock Lake.
Sorry if you live in Cock Lake. And Digbeth, I'm saying, which is kind of reminds me of like 1990s, early 2000s Camden, in that there's loads of like markets and designer makers and all sorts there. Really, really cool. Loads of nice fun bars and everything.
Lovely. Can't wait to see
Yeah,
it.
just loving Birmingham. Or as I like to say, the real Birmingham. Yeah. Every time Sam takes me anywhere new, I'm like, oh my God, this is like the real Birmingham. Which I say in both wonder and quite condescendingly, both at the same time, which I think is a skill to.
Well, I cannot wait for you and Sam to take me around Birmingham.
The real Birmingham. I will take you around the real Birmingham. So, in other news, and a surprise to no one still, today, guess who's presenting a case?
Is it you? Of course, she's so good, guys.
And, well, we're in trouble if you don't present the next one, because I've not got any up my sleeve anymore.
Yeah.
Or I'll have to do some research.
I get twos up my sleeves.
Good. I want to say that this case that I will be covering this episode is a shooting at Snoopy Place.
Okay.
Yes, that's Snoopy. So, on the morning of the 5th of July, 1995, at number 1 Snoopy Place, the Santa Rosa, California office studio of Peanuts creator Charles M. Schulz, there was a shooting.
Oh, it's like
It's also known as the Schulz
It's
campus,
like a massive...
or also known as the Schulz Museum.
It almost looks like a Swiss chalet, like massive Swiss chalet with fire and like loads of merchandise.
There's a picture of the shop. Exactly. So it's a museum. It's got cafe. It's got the shop. It's just got an ice arena. So you can see Snoopy's home ice, whatever the hell that is, where visitors can skate and enjoy a hot chocolate. So it's like a whole world.
It's a whole money-making exercise.
Related stuff. Yes, that too. So like I said, we are the morning of the 5th of July, 1995. And I'm going to talk about how gunshots rang out in number 1 Snoopy Place. And then a man was found bleeding on the lawn. And the creator of Peanuts was being questioned by the police. So I'm going to tell you about some of the key people, right? This is Charles M. Schulz. He is the creator of Peanuts. As you can see there, he is drawing Charlie Brown. And this case takes place at his complex that he built, which is sort of his creative space, which is where the offices, design studios, like we said, the shop, the museum, and all that is based in Santa Rosa in California.
Okay.
So that's him. He created basically an empire. And we have Ron Nelson. Let me tell you about Ron Nelson first, okay? He was hired in the 1970s as the vice president of Creative Associates, which is Charles Schulz's company, handling the business and merchandising side of Peanuts so that Schulz could focus on actual creatives, the actual drawing the cartoons. That was his area of genius. So he was delegating the business side, the merchandising, to someone who was more business minded. So Ron Nelson oversaw licensing. So the toys, the animation, branded products, you know, they don't make all these things themselves. They go to other factories or franchises or whatever. People pay for the permission to print like water bottles with Snoopy on. I don't know. Because this 70s and 80s was a time where Peanuts was exploding into a global brand. I mean, it was very much part of our childhood, wasn't it, Snoopy? At a time where we didn't have a million TV channels with the bazillion cartoons.
Exactly.
You had a handful, you know. The options were limited.
Do you know, so can I just tell you about my first recollection of Snoopy? I was at primary school and it was like woodwork, whatever. And we all got a piece of wood and, you know, you get the sandpaper, but it's actually on the machine. So it's going like super, super fast.
Oh, yeah.
So we were all allowed to do like a Snoopy. So what happened was we got a stencil, put it on a piece of wood in the shape of Snoopy. And then with the teacher, we went up one at a time. And like he was kind of controlling it, but like, so we all did like a Snoopy thing. And then we got to paint it. And I've still got mine upstairs. So I've got my original Snoopy that I made at primary school. So hopefully I won't be destroyed.
And we'll share it.
Yeah, hopefully I won't be destroyed at the end of this story. But anyway.
No, I don't think this case will affect your love of Snoopy or your opinion towards Snoopy.
Okay, cool. In my childhood.
But please find that. Take a picture. I need to see it.
I will.
So do our listeners. So do our very sexy listeners. I don't know about my first interaction with Snoopy, but I remember really liking Snoopy as a kid. So Ron Nelson worked with Schulz for 25 years by the time of the crime. So by 1997, they'd worked together 25 years. And Ron Nelson, at the time of the crime, at the time of the incident, was in his early 50s. And he was more than 10 years younger than his wife, Shirley. So, shouldn't be relevant, but sadly it is. Shirley Nelson. So, this is Shirley Nelson, Ron Nelson's wife. And as I mentioned, she's a little bit older than Ron. And she did not work for the Peanuts empire, but she was very closely associated with it, obviously, having a husband that worked there for that long. So you can see like very typical American mum of the 80s.
Yeah, definitely. 80s, 90s.
You know, like a little bouffant bob, turtleneck, sort of cashmere dusty pink top. Yeah, that's Shirley. So she was born in 1930. She was in her mid-60s at the time of the crime. And at that point, she had been married to Ron for nearly 28 years. So That's quite impressive, I think.
Okay. So he was in his
Never.
20s and she was in her 30s when they got married. Yeah, okay.
Must have been, yeah. And they stayed together a long time. So no one can say this was a fling. So I showed you the picture of Charles M. Schulz. He was the creator of Peanuts with characters like Charlie Brown, Peppermint Patty, one of my favorites, Snoopy. And they were working in the Santa Rosa area since the late 50s. And his studio / office was at #1 Snoopy Place, where he did his drawings and Creative Associates, his company, operated from, and where Ron Nelson worked for, over 25 years-ish. So he must have been with Charles Schulz almost as long as he was with his wife.
Yeah.
So I want to talk about how big Snoopy actually was in the 90s at the time of the incident first, right? It was one of the most widely syndicated comic strips in the world. So basically, it was commissioned by over 2,600 newspapers across 75 countries by the mid-90s.
Of course.
With a daily readership estimated at 350 million people.
Oh my God.
So that's bonkers. 2,600 newspapers. It was created and written entirely by Charles M. Schulz and had been running continuously since the 50s. So it was, at this point, over 40 years old by the time of the incident.
Wow.
The brand went far beyond newspapers. It was, toys, cards, TV shows, school supplies, books, collectibles, clothing, etc. There were TV specials, classic ones like a Charlie Brown Christmas and Charlie Brown Thanksgiving and so forth. So it was just everywhere at the time. Again, at a time when it's hard to imagine. But, I remember when we first moved to the UK, there was 4 channels. And okay, you had satellite and you had cable or whatever, but it was nowhere near like it is now. It wasn't TV channels in the thousands where you had to fill it with content, any old shit sometimes, right? There was not many TV stations, and the TV shows that stayed the distance it was because they were actually good, right? So Snoopy, Charlie Brown, the rest of the characters are arguably internationally recognized by the 90s. They're used in advertising themed to parks, museums, and all sorts. And it was very much like a symbol of innocence and childhood, but it also, had some touches of like Linus and, Woodstock and characters that had borderline signs of depression. Like, it touched on serious issues, but in a very kid-appropriate way, I think. So let's go back a bit. We have got Shirley and Ron and their marriage and how they first met. We don't actually know how they first met, but we do know that they've been together, like I said, for nearly 3 decades. And, since long before Peanuts was as big as it was at the time of the incident. It was described as long-standing, although imperfect relationship. I mean, how do you get to 28 years without having imperfections, There was an age gap that was repeatedly highlighted in the coverage and in the courts, arguably in a way that would not have been if he was the one that was 10 years older. I mean, it's not even that big an age gap. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Not now. It's like...
Yeah, 10 years for me, as long as... It depends on how old they are when that relationship started.
You don't
that
pays a big difference. 17,
No. And as we know, the age gap decreases in significance as
you get older,
people get older,
completely.
right?
Yeah.
So as long as they're like consenting adults of a reasonable age when it started, for me, I think 10 years is almost like the outer limit of even being an age gap. Up to 10 years doesn't even feel like a significant age gap worth mentioning in my mind. I don't know. Maybe I'm naive. Anyways.
No. I think you're right.
It plays a role because they used it as an excuse for what happened later, or at least part of the explanation of what happened later, which is the only reason I feel the need to mention it in a way that is annoying to myself even. By the mid-90s, friends and colleagues described, in quotation marks, significant marital problems and frequent arguments. So by this point, it's going downhill a bit. And Ron had an office secretary. Do we see where this is going?
No.
Her name is Eileen, and she is a decade younger than Ron, so 20 years younger than Shirley. So apparently this affair started spring of 1995. And Shirley soon discovered about the affair, and she was angry, humiliated. This is someone, in addition, who's like 20 years younger than her, which must have felt like also a kick in the face, And so in June 1995, Ron actually moved out of their marital home. Ron informed Schulz that he planned to leave Shirley for the younger Eileen. And Schulz reacted angrily because he didn't want drama in his lovely space that he had created.
Right, okay.
And he was also worried about like a sexual harassment liability thing if things
she was
went
the
tits up.
secretary,
Because,
wasn't she?
yeah, it's risky getting involved with people at work, especially when there's a power dynamic that is imbalanced, right? Schulz told Ron that he needed to end the affair or risk being fired. And that if the relationship continued, at least one of them would have to go. Presumably he's talking about Eileen and Ron, not himself.
Yeah, okay. I think so.
Yeah, I'll leave my empire.
Bye.
So says you've got this wholesome comic strip empire that's forced to deal with a real life, messy HR issue. And just so cliche, an executive who won't stop sleeping with his secretary. So back to Shirley, right? She had a documented history of depression, and the collapse of her marriage seemed to have really affected her and sent her further off of the cliff, which is really sad. She actually drafted farewell letters to Ron, to Eileen, and to Schulz, and intended for them to be delivered after her death. So at some point, we don't know how seriously, but she was contemplating suicide. In her letter to Schulz, she wrote that she had, in quotation marks, a wonderful life with Ron until his slut went conveniently to afternoon motel sex.
Oh.
And furthermore, that she would, in quotation marks, take Ron with me to rotten hell. So she's clearly angry. I mean, quite rightly so. That's horrendous. And, her whole life must have just fallen apart, as well as the insult of it all. But then she buys a revolver at a gun shop. She buys this actually immediately after learning about the affair, but she doesn't use it immediately, which, as you know, implies she uses it
later
on. So we've got the 4th of July, 1995, weirdly.
Independence
This is the day before, yeah. So it's the day before the situation that occurs, and it is a holiday. And Schulz and Jean is Schulz's wife, they saw Ron and Shirley playing golf on the 4th of July.
Okay.
So Ron and Shirley, I don't know whether they were trying to sort things out or whether they just really loved golf and playing together.
Were they hitting each other in the face with golf clubs? Is that what they think is playing golf?
I don't know. Whatever happened, the Schultzes decided not to approach them because they thought it was weird to see them out doing such a wholesome activity together. The golf outing was followed by yet another angry argument with Shirley, so they fought on the 4th of July. Then on the 5th of July, between 10 and 11 a.m., Shirley arrives at Peanuts headquarters at 1 Snoopy Place. She speaks briefly to the receptionist. She must know most of the staff there, She's asking if Ron is in, and then she just walks straight in without waiting for an answer. She walks into Ron's office. Ron looks up, sees her in black clothing and sunglasses, and I guess that's odd for her. Well, we did see her in this pink and white outfit, so she must have looked striking in a way that she doesn't normally present herself. And Ron then notices that she's holding a gun. Shirley says, "You ruined my life," and opens fire. Ron tried to run, but he got hit in his lower back with 2 bullets. He made it out to the yard and collapsed on the lawn in front of the building. Shirley then turned the gun on herself and shot herself in the chest. The receptionist heard the gunshots and called emergency services. Police and EMT arrived to find Ron face down and bleeding outside. Shirley is also found inside. She is also alive, but seriously injured. Eileen, the mistress/secretary, was also at work that day, but Shirley did not attempt to harm her. I don't know whether...
Did you see her?
She didn't know. Maybe she didn't have as much anger towards her as her husband. I don't know. Maybe the whole plan wasn't actually a plan that was particularly thought out. Who knows? The weapon, the revolver that she had bought, was found near Shirley's body. At the hospital, Shirley reportedly told the police that she was sorry that she hadn't been able to finish the job, which suggested that the shooting was neither just an accident or impulsive. And the suicide notes that she'd mailed to Ron and Eileen and Charles Schulz strongly indicated premeditation.
Yes.
So not just of suicide, but going in there and killing Ron. I mean, she had said that she wants to take him to hell, to rotten hell. You don't think of this when you think of Snoopy, do you?
No.
But I bet you will now.
And this is why Schulz obviously wanted to make sure, like, you got that wholesome brand image. You don't want any of this shit, you know? It's like...
Yeah, he was not happy with there even being an affair under his roof, let alone this. So Shirley was, unsurprisingly, arrested while she was still in hospital. So she was left there, obviously, to recover. And a judge set her initial bail at $750,000 in July 1995. So that's a considerable amount.
Of course.
Prosecutors charged her with attempted murder and firearm-related charges. Within a week, the judge revoked bail, citing fears for Ron and Eileen's safety and noting that Shirley had wealthy friends who might post her bail and presumably not care about getting it back if she absconded or broke the conditions of her bail. Her defense attorney initially said he wouldn't allow anyone to post bail because she was better off under hospital care.
Yeah, okay.
That's her defense.
Mm-hmm.
By November 1995, the situation had flipped. Shirley was out on bail for $2 million. And guess who posted her bail? Charles M. Schulz.
Yeah, I was just about to say.
Which is bizarre because, you know, we can have a lot of sympathy for Shirley for her having a husband of that many decades cheating on her in such a cliche way. But that's where the sympathy stops, because then she goes on to try to kill him. And so it's bizarre that Schulz would post the bail for the woman that shot one of his employees.
But I suppose
long-standing senior executive.
Yeah, but I suppose that Schulz is thinking, you know, he said to Nelson, you have to, you know, one of you have to go or whatever. This is obviously continued. And maybe he feels sorry for her. And I don't know. But
I know, but there's like having sympathy and then there's posting a $2 million
and actually getting involved
in
the situation, because he's now involved in it.
I mean, it does feel a bit like taking a side, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think it does.
So Shirley entered a not guilty plea, and her lawyer, Christopher Andrian, argued a case of insanity or diminished capacity, framing the shooting as a crime of the heart committed by a woman overwhelmed by emotional pain and mental illness. The defense emphasized that she had a history of depression and psychological fragility, which, yeah, who doesn't? The length of the marriage and Ron's infidelity with a much younger colleague, so that was part of her defense, the age difference. And her letters were used as evidence of suicidal despair rather than cold planning. So,
right.
The prosecution strategy, the prosecutor, David Dunn, portrayed the act as a deliberate, calculated, attempted murder. The gun was purchased in advance. The written notes showed that she planned on taking her own life and taking Ron with her to hell. And then her post-shooting comment about regretting not finishing the job.
Love a good murder? Come visit me, Isla, at Criminally Good Books in York, your one-stop shop for crime fiction and true crime reads, as well as gifts and author events. Or browse online at criminallygoodbooks.co.uk.
So he was seeking an attempted murder conviction with some serious jail time. The witnesses were mainly the employees of
the
Snoopy Land, I nearly called it. The receptionist and so forth. Charles Schulz and his wife Jean, they testified. They had to testify about Ron's affair with Eileen. Also that Schulz was angry over this workplace relationship. And their testimony painted a picture of an emotionally devastated woman, not someone who's typically a violent offender. Mm-hmm. So the defense definitely played a lot on the pity card, right? So this court case lasted weeks. And then in the spring of 1996, the jury deadlocked 9-3 in favor of acquittal on attempted murder.
Wow.
So
okay.
a mistrial was declared because I presume
okay.
they needed to have a
Higher.
unanimous decision.
Right, okay.
Press coverage noted at the time that jurors seemed persuaded by the narrative of Shirley as a tragic, emotionally broken figure rather than a classic would-be killer. So it worked. That sympathy, you know?
Wow.
But it's just weird because it feels like you're justifying why she did this. But you'd argue that a lot of murders have a reason behind them, a motive.
Well, yeah,
like
so this is
for
the
me,
thing.
it's saying
Yeah. There's an excuse.
it's still murder. It's just you're giving the motive, you know? Like,
yeah, well, exactly. So, I don't know. Doesn't sit right with me.
because what you're saying is I was just really, really upset.
Yeah.
So that's why I did it. And then they're like, oh, yeah, well, to be fair, they did treat her badly. So she wasn't wrong to try to kill him. It's bizarre, isn't it?
Completely.
So she faced a retrial in February 1997.
Okay.
And her lawyers were negotiating a plea bargain. She pleaded no contest to attempted murder in order to avoid a second trial. And
what does that mean, no contest?
So she's basically agreeing.
Oh, she's agreeing, of course. Sorry, yeah.
She's not pleading guilty. She's just saying she won't contest it.
Right, okay.
Which I'm guessing is saying, like, I'm not saying I'm not guilty. I'm not saying I'm innocent. I just won't argue with you. We'll agree to disagree, shall we?
So what does
but she
that
was
mean?
worried that if it went to trial, she would get a really harsh sentence because she could potentially get done really significantly for a long time. Because for me also, I think it's bizarre that you've got different sentences for attempted murder and murder, because at the end of the day, it was only an accident that she didn't manage to murder someone. Do you know what I mean? Like, the intention was to murder someone. Whether you followed through or not, your intention is still the same. I feel like you should still be punished for that.
Yeah, and
intent,
and
right?
also because it was premeditated, they'll say that she wrote the letters, she bought the gun, she could go down for a long time.
And if it was down to her, he would be dead. If it was her choice, she tried to, you know. So in 1997, April 1997, Sonoma County Superior Court Judge Arnold Rosenfield sentenced Shirley to 7 years for attempted murder, but suspended the term, placing her on 5 years probation with conditions. So 1 year in county jail, 18 months of home confinement, and 3,000 hours of community service.
Wow, that's a long...
She'd already served 76 days. So basically, she's going to face like 10 months in jail, 18 months of house arrest, basically, and then, you know, community service, volunteering of some capacity. So why such leniency? Both Charles Schulz and Ron Nelson wrote letters urging for leniency. So even her victim wanted her to not face harsh judgment. I'm guessing there's an element of guilt there. I don't know if they had kids, but whether he didn't want his kids having a mum in jail, not able to be there for the kids in the right way.
But it's also how he's portrayed, Dee. You know, if you've got someone who's cheated on his wife for years with his secretary, who's 10 years younger, and then she's so distraught that she's done this, that you've got Schulz who's paid for her bail. You know, both Schulz looks a little bit funny, suspect in this, but Nelson just looks like a piece of shit. So the only way that he can redeem himself amongst their friends, you know, and, you know, society is
again,
to say,
potential kids, if they have them,
is to say, look, she...
Employer?
Yep. Everything, exactly. And, you know, Schulz might have said to him, you better fix this. You know, we do not want her being jailed. This is going to be more stuff that's going to come against the company. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, so that's a really jaded view that both of us seem to hold, allegedly. There is obviously a world in which he could just genuinely feel bad and not want her to suffer more.
Yes, I think that there
Who
could
knows?
be that as well, yeah. A bit of everything.
It could be a mix of it. Obviously, you know, he for sure will be feeling an element of guilt because at the end of the day, none of this would have happened if he hadn't, you know, caused it. Both of these people then, Charles Schulz and Ron Nelson, urged for probation rather than a long prison term. It's just bizarre to me that that would have an influence. Like, I get that victim impact statements often have a role in sentencing. So I don't know. But defense attorney Andrian later reflected that Shirley was, in quotation marks, a good person who went off the deep end, and that the judge seemed to have agreed. So, how much weight should a victim's forgiveness carry? Is this justice? Is this compassion? Is it both? Would a younger, less sympathetic defendant have received the same treatment? Because remember, at this point, this woman is in her 60s, If she was younger, would they have thought, well, there's more chance of her doing it? Ron eventually recovered from his injuries, but left Creative Associates. He no longer worked for Schulz after the incident, and I couldn't really see whether it was a mutual decision or if he got fired or if he quit. But I can imagine it, a whole host of reasons that would mean he would not want to go back to the place where he was shot. Anyway, Schulz testified that he fired Ron in August 1995, saying publicly it was unrelated to the shooting, but later acknowledging he felt compelled to let Ron go because he and Eileen refused to end the relationship. Eileen resigned shortly afterwards. So again, don't know if this was because it was an affair and Ron was married, or whether there were, some companies don't allow romances in the workplace, so whether he had that.
Also, it's his secretary. It's not as if it's like someone down the other end of the corridor. It's your secretary. And like you said, it's
or someone,
power dynamic as well.
Yeah, in the 90s, where it was even more icky. It was interesting to me, though, that Schulz didn't fire Eileen and Shirley didn't shoot Eileen. So it feels like they're fully or more so blaming Ron for this situation, let's say. And he is the one higher up the chain in terms of the organizational hierarchy. And he's definitely the one that's married. He's older. Like, there's a million reasons why he probably faced more judgment than Eileen. And what about Shirley?
Mm.
Well, after completing jail time and her home confinement, her house arrest, and her community service, Shirley moved to a retirement community because by this time she's probably in her 70s.
Yeah.
And she died in 2005. So only 10 years after the incident, she died of colon cancer in 2005 at the age of 78. Schulz and the Peanut legacy, we know already that Peanuts has gone from strength to strength after this. Don't think it affected it significantly. Schulz never publicly commented in depth about the case, but his actions, posting bail, supporting leniency, firing Rob, kind of speak volumes about where he stood. And he continued drawing Peanuts himself until 1999 and died in the year 2000. Oh, okay. So his museum now stands near the studio site in Santa Rosa. So we saw the pictures. If I'm ever in California, I'd totally go there. It looks fun.
And you can see the site of the shooting.
Yeah. I was going to say I can go ice skating, but yeah, also that. It's like the Lululemon shooting. It's something that we just
horrible, wasn't it?
Forgot and don't associate with the brand anymore. And maybe we should, but I mean, obviously there wasn't an actual death, but this is quite a dramatic incident and shooting with a lot of scandal and gossip and people involved. It's bizarre that it's not more known. I struggle to find resources about it.
So Nelson's, if he's still alive, he's in his 80s.
Yeah, I don't know if he's still alive, but like most of my sources, for example, are SF Gate, which is San Francisco Gate, San Francisco Chronicle. Well, I've got some stuff from Oxygen and Mental Floss, but like most of my sources, which are listed in the show notes, are from local, publications. So yeah.
Probably Schulz tried to make sure that it wasn't covered more widely as well, because you can imagine he's got a lot of money to pay off lawyers, pay people to not publicly too much around the world.
I wonder how big a deal it was, locally, nationally, globally at the time. Yeah, it was just when I first heard that on a podcast, and I don't remember which one, I was just like, what? How do we not know this? And it was happening at the time that we were probably watching Snoopy.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Completely. But I suppose we're watching it, enjoying it, not thinking about all the controversy or even knowing about it. We wouldn't even understand as kids what was going on.
I know, but 2,600 newspapers in 75 countries.
And I remember
the comic strip in it.
The comic strip. Because when you said Snoopy, I was thinking on TV and Charlie Brown on TV. But then now, the more I think about it, I probably know it more for the comic strip in the newspapers.
Yeah, because you take your parents' newspaper and you go to the back to the comic strip and you'd read the comic strip.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so it's just bonkers to me that at the front of those newspapers were probably articles about this story happening in Snoopy, and then we'd just skip past that and go to the back and read
Charlie Brown.
the actual comic. It's just bizarre. Yeah. Do you need a palate cleanser?
Yeah, I do. I mean, that one was interesting because there wasn't a murder, but I've got a lot of sympathy for the wife in the situation, and I kind of feel like I want to know more about the secretary and whether they're still together or like how all that worked out.
Yeah. I think everyone involved in the story kind of just went on the down low afterwards, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, no one died, but it was quite a grim story with obviously the cartoon focus. So the quiz today is Totally Tubular 90s Cartoons quiz.
Oh my gosh, please. Yes, let's go.
Okay. I am starting off easy. Which cartoon, question 1, follows a family in the fictional town of Springfield?
I know the answer.
Is it A, South Park, B, The Simpsons, C, King of the Hill, D, Doug?
The Simpsons.
Yeah. I remember first watching The Simpsons and being like, oh my God, this is so cool. I think they chose the name Springfield because apparently there's a Springfield in every single state. I don't know if that's true or not.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so question 2. What animal was Rocco in Rocco's Modern Life? Do you remember?
No.
Rocco's Modern Life. Oh my God, it was amazing. Okay, you need to watch it with Ivy. She'll love it. A, kangaroo, B, emu, C, wallaby, D, koala.
Wallaby.
Correct.
Oh my
God. Which is bonkers, seeing as you've never heard of it. Question 3. Which cartoon featured babies who often imagined epic adventures? A, Doug, B, Recess, C, Rugrats, or D, Animaniacs?
Oh, Rugrats.
That was such a good show as well.
I loved
it?
that. I used to watch that, yeah.
You know what's depressing is that we're older than the parents now.
Oh, gosh.
All right, question 4. What were the names of the 3 Powerpuff Girls? A, Sugar, Spice, Everything Nice. B, Blossom, Buttercup, and Bubbles. C, Red, Yellow, Blue. Or D, Pink, Blue, Green.
I'm going to go with A. I have no clue. Like, I don't know. I've never heard of these people.
It's Blossom, Buttercup, and Bubbles. And for those of you...
Was that B?
...that like Powerpuff Girls, I have him. This is one of the bad guys from Powerpuff Girls tattooed on my arm. All right, last question. Question 5. Which cartoon cat and mouse were known for being especially gross? Remember, this is 90s. A, Tom and Jerry. B, Ren and Stimpy. C, Pinky and the Brain. D, Heathcliff.
The second one, B.
Ren and Stimpy, yes.
Okay, cool. Yeah.
I loved Ren and Stimpy.
Yeah, so did I.
Was Ren and Stimpy a cat and a mouse? I thought they were 2 dogs.
I don't know.
I need to Google this. What animals were Ren and Stimpy? I'm sure one of them was a Chihuahua.
Yeah, a little bit.
Ren is a Chihuahua. It's a cat and a dog. And Stimpy is a Manx cat. Well, there you go. Yeah, that's the end of our Totally Tubular 90s. 1,
That is
2,
so cool. I really
3,
liked that one.
4. You got 4.
Did I? Cool. I'll take that.
Yeah.
I mean, the last one was awful. Like last week's episode, I got like 1.
It was. Yeah, you did well this time. So
Yay.
That is us. Next week, we might have you presenting a case to me. I can't wait.
Well, we have to because you haven't done any.
I mean, I could do more research, but it would be nice to have a break.
Yeah, it would be, wouldn't it? Because like,
and hear a story.
I know, you can just sit back and relax, and I can tell you about something.
Yeah, it's nice.
I'm gonna do my best.
Well, I'm gonna go and eat cheese.
I'm gonna go to
my
work.
Post-podcasting ritual now is just eating some kind of cheese. Yeah, I guess do some work. Ugh. All right. Well, I love you, and I love
so
our sexy listeners.
Thank you for
love
that
you.
one.
Bye.
Right, I'll speak to you later. Bye.
Like this episode? Want more? Come visit me, Isla, at Crimley Good Books in the heart of York. We're an independent bookshop dedicated entirely to crime. From cosy mysteries to gritty thrillers, historical whodunits to juicy true crime. We've got signed editions, special gifts, and plenty of recommendations for your next obsession. We also host a bunch of awesome author events. Can't make it in person? Visit us online at crimleygoodbooks.co.uk.